All right, guys, this is going to be get your Kleenexes and put them to the side. We're going to be smiling. We're going to be crying. We're going to be laughing. We're going to be bringing the absolute truth here. I had the pleasure of getting connected because we were meant to be connected with Miss Liz, and she has such a story. And no matter the fact I've been doing this almost 18 years, she grabbed a hold of me and everything she's been through. And I want to empower her and everything she's doing. But we got to start back at the beginning on how this all started. She is a force to be reckoned with and an inspiration to all. Ms. Liz, thank you so much for coming on and telling your story and letting us show your strength and inspiration and your healing and everything that you're doing today.
Well, thank you so much for having me, Victoria. This is an honor. I love meeting other survivors and other women who understand the pain to change, because that's what we're going to do. We're going to change the pain. We're going to turn it into some triumph and show that you can survive when you believe in yourself.
That's right. All right. It's I know a portion of your story, and it's heart wrenching to say the least. And I look at you, and you are amazing, and you have come through it with such tenacity. Kind of tell us where it started and walk us through this hell that you were captured in for so long.
Well, my story started when I was 4. I was a little girl, and on my 4th birthday, I got a birthday gift from an uncle who said it was, a gift that I'll remember. And it is a gift I remember. He raped me on my 4th birthday. Uh, and it continued for 9 years. He was prosecuted and then released and then reoffended me. And I became pregnant with my daughter, Ashley, who passed from stillborn. She's still with me today. She is my saving grace. She is the little girl who pushes me, my inner child, to stay strong, to keep moving. I will probably get emotional because Ashley is a very special part of me.
Absolutely.
That a lot of people silenced for so many years, because every time I spoke of Ashley, I was put into a psychiatric ward from my parents, because I was not to speak of the damage and the dark secrets, and how dare I be the whistleblower, right? And break the silence on how sick the family was. And then after that ordeal with my daughter, which I celebrate every year, she on December 13th, I celebrate her every year, and we have a tea together, and I always think back, would we be best friends? Where would she be? Would she be married? Would she have grandkids? Yeah, I am a grandma. So I always wonder if, where she is. But I know that she's close to my heart and she's watching over me. So at the age of 17, I was this neighbor downstairs who I write this in book 4 in Sacred Hearts Rising, is I hated the guy. I couldn't stand the guy. He was this aggravating neighbor who partied all the time. And I was working from the age of 13 to the age of 17 in a nursing home, and then going to school during the day, just so that I could get away from and raise and get some money so that I could take care of myself as well. Because my dad was an alcoholic. So we never had much. His drinking came first, his partying came first. The rent was paid, but all the other stuff was put aside. So I in book 4, I write that, I couldn't stand the guy, but he was almost like a Prince Charming,
Very charismatic.
the Jekyll and Hyde, you hate him one minute and then you love him the next. And so I became pregnant at 17, and I told my father, and my father's words were, you know what you have to do now. And I didn't know what I had to do. So then he said, well, you need to get married, or I'm going to take the baby and it's going to go for adoption. And I had already lost Ashley, and they had already silenced Ashley for so many years, for 3 years, those 3 years. And I was like, there's no way, no. So on my wedding day, I said, no, I'll get married. I'll be the good little girl. I'll get married. So we waited till my 18th birthday. It was 2 weeks after my 18th birthday. And the day of my wedding, my dad told me, when I get my $2, then he can have you. And those were the last words my dad said to me. And my ex-husband now.
What do you mean?
apparently there was an inside joke or something between my ex-husband and my father that I would be bought for $2 because that's what I was worth.
Oh, Liz.
So yeah, so we're standing and we were supposed to get married in a church, but we ended up getting married by the justice of peace because it was $2 cheaper than the church. So, but that was the $2 that he had to pay, right? So when I thought it was a joke, I thought, okay, this, my dad's just joking with me. He's trying to, just ruffle my feathers or whatever. There was a lot of mental abuse, right? And he said, no, once I get the $2, then I'll walk you down. I'll walk you through the hallway and I'll give them to you. And like, you can have them. And I was like, okay. So I kind of was in shock. I was 6 months pregnant with my daughter, who is now 31. And my ex-husband came up to my dad and gave him a $2 bill. And I knew that
The
it was
age
no
difference between you two, if you don't.
I think it was 6 years between the two of us,
Okay.
between me and my ex-husband. And so I knew it was no longer a joke. This was happening. So, a lot of my family say, oh, well, it was just a fun joke. It was just a little prank. And I was like, no, you don't do that on your, so after years and years of knowing that it was no longer a joke, that my dad was serious, because years later, Victoria, I'll jump into the future a little bit. After my divorce, I met this other man, and this man wanted to marry me. And he went and asked my dad for my hand in marriage. And my dad said, oh, well, if you give me $4, you can have her. So I knew that I had went up in value of $2. So and that man looked at my dad and said, I will not give you a damn red cent for your daughter.
Good for him.
And that man today, I'm glad that I didn't marry him, because he was another abuser as well. So
At least he said something good to your dad.
yeah. So I knew that it was not a joke, because my dad, years later, 18 years later, was able to say $4, so it was really disgusting. So moving forward, I got married, and the abuse started right away, instantly. As soon as the $2 was given, we said vows, things I didn't even really understand. I was a child. I was 18. And my husband, right after we said I do, he looked at me and he says, you do know I own you now, right?
Like right after the vows, they kiss the
Right after.
bride. That's what he says.
And I have that in my wedding book. I wrote it down in our wedding book, and I still have the book. And I'm like, I can't believe that he said that to me. And all I replied back was, because I was pregnant, I said, I need to eat a banana. I'm getting dizzy. So I wrote down like what we had said, like our first conversation with being married within a few minutes. And, and the abuse just never stopped. It just got worse and worse. But he was the Jekyll and Hyde, right? All the abuse was done at nighttime, so nobody would see during the day. He started playing the mental games, where putting the cans all crooked, and then as soon as everybody would leave, he would give me this look, and he would say, you know what you have to do, right? So I would go into the cupboards, I would start putting everything in order. So I became really OCD big time. I started tapping door handles, checking the doors if they were locked 3 times. Like it just went like he started mentally making me go insane. Then he started giving me medication to make me have seizures. He apparently had epilepsy. I to this day I don't believe he ever had it. I think he lied that to the doctors too. So I started having seizures, and my body started shutting down. I started having speech problems. Then he also stabbed me. He played the Russian roulette beside my head, and he said, this one's going to get you. Pow. And he had 1 bullet. And when it got to the last one, I thought, honestly, Victoria, I thought that was it. I was gone. That was the end of it. And the last pow, because it had a bullet, it busted my eardrums, so I'm half deaf. And for years I just said, oh, I must have got a bug in my ear or something, I can't hear right. I can't. So years later, 8 years ago, I got my hearing aids. So for all those years, I suffered with hearing. I kept saying, what? And then the beatings to the head caused more damage and the trauma, right? So finally, I always said to him, you can do whatever you want to me. Just don't hurt my kids. Don't hurt my babies. Give it to me. I'm the one that needs to take it. And then I found out that while he was drugging me, he was molesting my kids. So that was the last straw. I was like, no, I'm out of here. I don't care if I'm gonna die. I'm getting out of here. We gotta go. I have to save my babies. And we left in 2005 and we never looked back. And I have gone back home. My dad has passed now, and that's why I started writing, because I didn't feel scared anymore. I was able to write, right? And the thing was, there was more abuse than just me and my kids. There was my family that was physically and sexually abusing me as well. There was my mom who was betraying me, who had an affair with my ex-husband for 5 years. When we left, my mother-in-law at the time found these love letters, and she was French, and she just kept saying, I don't know if your listeners are French, but she kept saying, say queso, because all she could understand was, I love you. And I said, Mom, just throw them out. It's just papers. Just, toss it out. And she's like, no, c'est quoi ça? Je t'aime. C'est qui ça? And I said, I don't know, Mom. I don't know who it is. I don't know what that is. Just throw it out as paper, And I grabbed the letter, and I read it. And it was my mom writing love letters and dating them. And that's how we knew it was 5 years, because she was stupid enough to put the date on it. We need to lock up my daughter again. She's losing her marbles. There she goes again, talking about that Ashley that never existed. We need to take the other kids away from her. I'm the real woman that you want. This is my mother. And, and I'm thinking, wow, I'm getting beaten by my ex-husband. I'm getting molested by my uncles. When does it ever stop?
Right. Drowning.
Who do I trust? Who's not coming for me, right? So moving on, I went and I see my dad, and I had called my dad, because my dad and my mom bailed out my ex-husband when he was arrested for molesting my kids, because I was not having it. And my dad bailed out my ex-husband, saying that, she just wants to go be with another man, and she just wants to take the kids from you. And I'm like, seriously, Dad, he's hurting the babies. He's hurting these kids, and you're taking his side. But I found out that my dad was also a domestic violence abuser, and abusers protect abusers. They stick together. It's like yes. Their own group, right? Yeah. They understand that sickness, so they got to stick together.
Yep.
So he bailed my ex-husband out, and so there was the betrayal of my family. The betrayal, I could not trust anybody, and to this day, I don't trust. I give everybody the benefit of the doubt, but as soon as someone says trust me, I'm like, I'm running, I'm gone. You're not getting it from me. You're gonna show me I can trust you first before you even throw that word at me, because the word trust is my red flag. Run, get out of here. Because all my life I didn't have anyone I could turn to and trust. Moving forward, Victoria, after I left, we went to court, and I found out that he was not only molesting my daughter and my stepdaughter. He molested one of my cousins. He molested my son. And he molested a daughter that I had that was not his. And there was many others that he molested. And when we went to court, his answer was, I'm going to plead guilty because I don't want to destroy my family. And I was like, this man is sick. He has destroyed this family, and he's going to plead guilty. And this is where I get really angry and very frustrated with the services. And justice. This man was put into a group home for 18 months.
He wasn't incarcerated in a facility of a jail
No,
or any or prison or any.
no.
That is baloney.
And the only thing he has to do is every Monday he has to go to the police station and give his blood. And he's registered as a sex offender on the registry. But he got no jail time.
And the reason for that was?
There is no reason. that is how the justice system works. You know, and they say, come to us. No. Why should we come? We're the ones that are surviving this. Like we said backstage before we went live, Victoria, is we hate the word victim.
Yes.
You know, get the word victim out of there. We didn't ask for this. We didn't say today, I want this. I want you to beat me. I want you to poison me. I want you to stab me. I want you to shoot me. We don't ask for this.
Right.
You know, we get up to survive each day.
That's right.
And we have children with these men because we want our children to have fathers, but they turned out to be monsters.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I don't tell my children's story because that's their story to tell. And that's what I tell them. When I wrote in my books, one of my children said, Mom, you wrote that a little harsh. And I said, I wrote my pain, my story. You can write your story as well. You know, don't take away mommy's pain because that's what mommy went through. You know, what you went through might be different. You might have seen it differently. You know, it's like when we're in the situation, a lot of people are like, oh, I never seen that. I never seen him do that to you. Like, oh, come on. You must have just wanted to get away. You might just want to have somebody else, you know,
put on us always.
Always. And then when we go to the services for help, we get re-victimized and re-traumatized. And that's the only time I use victim is re-victimize because that's what the services do to us. They re-victimize us. We don't ask to tell our stories over and over and over and over and over again. And then they question us. Well, are you sure is that's what really happened? Are you sure that it took that many beatings? Are you like, how would they feel if we were the ones doing that to them, you know, saying, are you sure that your husband is not cheating? Are you sure that he beat you 300 times? You know, let's put the reverse. Let's flip the T. Like, you know, like stop re-traumatizing us. We've been through enough. You know,
your kids have any contact with him now?
No, they do not. They don't have any contact. My son has been denied that he's even the father of him. My son called him on Father's Day when he was 18, and my ex-husband sent me a message and said, you need to tell that kid to stop messaging me. I'm not his father. And he says, I'm going to call the police for harassment. And I was like, your son is calling to wish you a happy Father's Day. Right. What is wrong with you?
Apparently a lot.
You know, so it was just constant trauma, constant drama. Like it was, you know, like, does it ever end? Does it ever stop? In March 28, 2018, and I carry these papers proud. They're in my purse, my divorce papers. My ex-husband always told me, you're not going to ever get away from me. You're never going to get a divorce. I'm never going to let you go. You're mine. I own you, you know. And because of all of the abuse, all of the court documents I had, all of the calls from police and all of that, it cost me $26 to get my divorce.
Best
I went in with
dollars ever spent.
The best investment ever. I had a $50 crisp bill, and I went into the courthouse and I said, now, does he need to sign these papers? And they said, it would be better if he signed them. But after 30 days, because of all of the abuse and the proof that we have here, it's automatic, you're divorced. So I had sent him the papers, and he wrote back, I'm not signing them. And I knew what the courts had told me. So I said, whatever, don't sign them. I don't care. And then he said, oh, I lost the paper. Send me another copy. Well, of course, you're still, you know, still feeding the abuser. So I sent a second copy, and he calls me again. I'm not signing them. And I know what he's doing. He's just taunting me. He's gaslighting me. So the third time he says, okay, I'll sign the papers if you come back up north, because I moved away from home. I'll come back and we sit down and have a coffee and I'll sign them in front of you. And then we can discuss. And I knew what that meant.
Yeah.
If I come back, I'm in trouble.
Yes.
I'm not coming back.
Right.
So then he says, okay, well, send me a third copy. So I sent him the third copy. He ripped the copy, then he taped it. Then he put an apology on the letter and he said, oh, it ripped when I opened the mail and I'm really sorry, but here, you finally, like, 3 strikes, you're out. I'm getting rid of you. And I was thinking, whatever, like,
Just sign it.
I'm just done. Like, you
Right.
know, so the papers came, but I knew what the courts told me. So whether the signed papers or not, but I kept that ripped copy with the tape with the, you know, and I carried that proud. And for the longest time, my kids were like, Mom, you didn't get divorced. Mom, Dad would never let you go. And I was like, I got divorced, guys. March 28, 2018 is the date that Dad is gone. Dad is done with Mom. Whether Dad wants to keep telling people that he's not, that's his issue. That's not mine. And, you know, and I celebrate that day. Like
You
every
should.
year, I'm just like, yes, I've lived it. I've gone through it. You know, I celebrate life,
Yes.
you know, because I've been through a lot.
Yes,
So,
you have.
you know,
And have you
so
heard from him since?
I have heard from him twice and I've called police twice.
Good for you.
I'm just like, there's a restraining order for life on this man. He's not to have any contact with me. But again, the justice system is just like, okay, well, you know, you have to come back to court and you have to get a new one. You're not renewing your restraining. Like, I'm not renewing. It says lifetime restraint order.
Right.
Like, where do I have to renew it?
Yeah.
It just means stay away from me. Like,
Leave
don't
me alone.
contact me.
Right.
Like, and he's so sick that he'll send me a message and he's like, oh, well, you know, your kids are the ones that are damaged, not me. And I just want to be friends with you. Like, come on, we promised we would be friends. And I'm like, I don't want to be friends. I don't want anything. Just stay away from me.
Right.
And to the point where now he's with a woman that has the same name as my daughter, has this, her daughters have, and he's not supposed to be around, and other girls, has the same names as my cousin that he molested. So it's really sick how he has kept those trophy names and made sure that they stay in his life. You know, and the trophies, we don't talk about the trophies that abusers keep, you know. He blackmailed me. He sold me to a guy for sex trade and that as well when we were married, so he could pay his drug bills. It never stopped with him. And even to this day, a lot of those men will message me and they'll be like, hey, we still own you. And I'm like, nobody owns me. Nobody has me. If you have a deal with the devil over there, go fix it with him. Don't fix it with me. You know, I get people that follow me, watch me, take pictures. And I'm just to the point where I'm already been broken and damaged years ago. You can't do any more damage to me. Yeah, the pieces are so broken that there's no room to break anymore. Now it's time to mend. Now it's time to put the gold seal on and fix the broken pieces. And anybody that comes at me and says, you know what, I own you, no one owns me. You know, you own the piece of gold that's going to mend the next broken piece. That's what you own, you know, because all you guys are doing is giving me gold paste to put my pieces together, because now I have a voice. Now I speak.
Yes.
And I get involved, and I have that voice that says, we need to be the change makers. We need to be the voice. We need to start changing the way services treat us, the way the justice system is. We need new laws.
Yes, we
And
do.
not just laws that are put on paper and not followed through. There's so many bills out there, so many laws out there that are still being broken to this day. People are not following them.
That's
You
right.
know, services are saying, oh, I'm giving you this service for but I'm going to put you on a 3-year waiting list. Well, in 3 years, I might be dead. Or 3 years, I'm not going to know how to find you because your service is hiding somewhere
Mm-hmm.
that makes it uncomfortable for me to go to.
Mhm.
you know, and like we said, backstage was victim services. We're not victims, we're survivors. Change your wording to
Right.
survivor services,
Show some respect.
right? We didn't ask for this.
We overcame it. That's right.
You know, so yeah, and then I started writing my stories, and then my tea, I started having tea parties, and then it was community tea parties, and then with COVID we went down to virtual, and we're just opening doors, we're just having people share stories, and sometimes we don't have to hear the heavy stories, right? We can hear the good stories and then bring in a heavy story,
Right.
you know. So what I do with like what my podcast is, I have like 3 guests on every Thursday, in the morning, afternoon, and evening. So in between that, there's a heavy story, but you don't know which one is heavy, because I'm promoting the good stuff, the positive stuff, you know. And during that tea time, we bring in the heavy stuff, and we say, this is why we do it. Because I always start off every question with, who were you as a little girl or a little guy? And who are you now? Because a lot of our patterns and cycles come from childhood.
Yes. That's
So
right.
we need to start talking about the childhood in order to speak about the adulthood.
That's right. Can I just tell you that I myself also felt broken and shattered, and then I looked up and I thought of a stained glass window and all those gorgeous, beautiful pieces that were all broken, and they make such a magnificent overall picture. And that's what you are. You're like a beautiful stained glass window where all these pieces have fallen and it came back, and now you're shining light through it. And that's how I see you, because it is, you resonate such light and inspiration. And tell everybody about all of your books, because I can't wait to get them. I want to read them.
Well, I started writing in 2017 after I met Brenda Hammond, and I've been in all of her books. So it was a 4-book series. So in book 1, I'm just going to show you them in order here, Victoria, and then I'll show you the other one. So I've written in a bunch of anthologies, and in book 1, it's Breaking the Silence.
I love that.
And I shared that we shared the book. In this book, I shared my chapter on child abuse. So my uncle and all of that, and my story of getting married and all that, but it's mainly based on the child abuse from my uncle. And all these books are on Amazon. This one is best-selling, international bestseller, so it's worldwide. It's in 13 different languages, so if you're in a different country, you can get it as well. So that's book 1. Book 2, yes, it's this one. Is it this one? Yes. And book 2, I shared about the grief of my kids, Ashley passing from stillborn, and then my children being put into foster care. The grief of a living child is hard as well, and we don't speak about that. So I shared in there, and my story in there is Shining Through Double Grief, and that again is on Amazon. All these books are on Amazon. Book 3 is Men and Women. We have a couple men in here who have shared their story as well. A single father, a man overcoming sexual abuse, you know, so we do have men that go through this as well. And again, in this one, I shared about my mental illness. I shared about conversion disorder. And for anybody that doesn't know what conversion disorder is, it's a neurological disorder that shuts your body down from trauma. The best way that I can describe it is if you're going to war and coming home. That's what one doctor had explained it to me, was because I had trauma after trauma after trauma. My body was on guard all the time.
You became
So
paralyzed.
yeah, I became paralyzed. And that's when my kids went into care, because I had nobody to take care of them. I had to learn how to rewalk again. From my hips down, they went numb. I was working in a gas station. And 5 minutes before my shift ended, my hand had went up. So I thought I was having a stroke, because my arm went up like this and locked. So I thought I was having a stroke. And my coworker said to me, well, do you want to go? I said, I got 5 minutes and then I'll do my, my paperwork and all that, because I was a supervisor. And then I said, I'll go home and I'll rest. Maybe I'm just tired. Maybe I just worked too hard. I didn't get enough sleep. Hours later, I was woken up for dinner from my friend who was staying with me, and I couldn't move. My legs wouldn't move. And I've been checked for many years for MS because of the shutdowns in my bodies, because my body would shut down. But they didn't know that I was being drugged back then as well. I didn't even know, because my kids were the ones, when they came forward of being molested, they were like, Mommy, Daddy used to put stuff in your tea and your mashed potatoes. And I used to always complain about the mashed potatoes. I used to say, like, what are they? Like, they're like running freaking watery mashed potatoes. I hated them when he would cook. And then that's when he would be putting the medication in. So the kids didn't like mashed potatoes.
He
And
fed
they
that to the
all,
kids too.
yeah.
Oh,
And then my kids would always ask me, Mommy, can I make you a tea? And I'd be like, but Mommy just made a tea. I still have a tea. And they'd be like, no, Mommy, you want another tea. You really want another tea, Mommy. And I'd be like, no, I'm okay. And but they knew what, because he had made the tea. So they knew what was coming. I didn't know until they came forward what was going on. I still drink tea, but I'm very leery if somebody else is making my tea for me. I'm very you know, and my kids will watch who makes my tea too. They're very guard, and they're all adults now, and they watch. So kids do watch. And then book 4, I wrote about the domestic violence. And in this one, I did a full circle as well, because I was the only author in all of the books that wrote in all 4 books. Brenda put my first chapter, and then she put also my first chapter from book 1 in here again. And then a full circle write-up is in here as well. And again, that's a best-selling international book. All of the Sacred Hearts books were bestsellers. And with that series, I also became the Sacred Hearts Rising Leaders for Change for a while. And then I felt that it was just time for me to move on. And Brenda and me decided that Miss Liz has to do Miss Liz, because if you get too comfortable in something, then you start to forget who you are, right?
Right.
So sometimes you need that push to move forward. And I was losing who Miss Liz was, and she just like, you got to go, and it wasn't a bad thing. It was a good foot. I'm grateful for that woman every day of my life. During book 2, I also wrote The Unstoppable Gems. In here, I wrote about a butterfly being in the goop, being in the abuse all the time, and the caterpillar building its strength and then flying, my wings flying. And it's funny, book 3, it came out when book 3 was, because I wrote Hidden Gems in Sacred Hearts. And then this one, I'm the Unstoppable Gem. So it was the universe that was speaking, because I never knew that this book was coming to me until, months later, after I had already submitted for book 3. And in this one, it's an international book as well. And I'm the only Canadian that has written in this one. The rest of the beautiful ladies in here are all from the United States. And I always try to be that different person that's in the collection. So, and then I had the honors of writing with 50 women from around the world, our triumph stories. And then this is how we took our businesses during COVID. I took mine from a community event to a virtual event. So my story's in there. I'm on the top here, right there. So, and there's 50 incredible women in here, all walks of life, who have gone through abuse, who have built their businesses, who are single moms, really empowering book. So, and that book you can get on my website, or you can get it through Carol Azam, who is putting amazing books together with women all over. And then my last collection that I just wrote, and these are my books that I wrote all by myself. So we'll start with book 1. So for me, T is my life. So teaching and educational awareness. So the T, so we kept it simple. T equals
I
teaching.
love that.
And for me, I wrote it like an Alice in Wonderland kind of book. And the teapot and the single cup is me sitting in my abuse alone. So we look at images and we sometimes overlook the story. We sometimes think, oh, it's just a cup of tea. It's just a pot. No, it was me as a little girl sitting by myself. And in this one, I had the honors of having my grade 7 teacher write my foreword for me, who gave me my first award for writing in grade 7. And I reached out to her. She's in her 70s and she was honored, and she wrote my forward for me. So you just never know who really is there protecting you. So that one, and these books are all on Amazon as well. The goal for these books, Victoria, is to get them into the schools and get them into the services so we can start talking tea. We can start using words to break the silence. For me, teaching education awareness is my story, but it's also transformation, example, and attitude. You know, there's also transparency, educating, and action, 3 words that will tell your story. So, and on the back of all of the books, you see the little girl at 4 to who I am today.
I love that you did that. I love that.
I wanted to put that in all of the books because the little girl has transformed. So then in the second book, you'll see E equals education. And in these books, I take you to 3 different countries. So I take you to Turkey, England, and Australia. And I give you a recipe of the tea from each of the countries. And I also put some fun facts in there. I keep it really playful. I have the guy who created the educational system in 1796 in here. So it takes you on a journey. And there's also self-help exercises that you can use for yourself. I can't heal you. I'm not a healer. If anybody that tells me I can fix you, I can heal you, I'm running. And so, we have to fix ourselves. We have to believe in ourselves. And that's what I did with this one. And this one, the picture shows a tea being pulled. And this is the story of grief. Grief pulls us and it changes us. So when we're looking at images, I really want people to look deeper within the picture.
Yes.
And then the last one is A equals awareness. And with this one is A words, but it's the awareness that we can change our life at any time. And all of my books are donated, I dedicated to my children. I have 3 living children, and Ashley is in all of them. But all of my living children have been dedicated a book. So they kind of have like a sibling thing. Oh, my book is more, the ranks, or I'm in first place, I'm in second place. So, it kind of helps me as well to see that they're like my book, get my book. And then this one, it's the flow of lightness.
That picture is just captivating. Like, I'm just enthralled in that picture where I'm totally listening to every word you say, but that cover, you could just get lost in it. And you just, I mean, it's a gorgeous cover. It's got everything in the background, but I'm just staring at this hot tea going into an empty cup. And that's what I'm staring at. It's beautiful. It's like, it's beautiful, but it says so much.
And that's what I wanted, right? I wanted the pictures to speak and tell a story, and the flow of the awareness that you can change your life. You can fill your cup back up. Whether anybody has broken you or taken everything and tried to destroy you, we're here for a reason, right? We're survivors for a reason.
Right.
We all have our stories. We all have gone through similar experiences. Our pains are not the same. They are different. But we all have filled our cups back up.
Mm-hmm.
We all have gotten our voices and said, you know what? No more. You will not take my life. You will not. No matter how many broken bones we had, how many scars, how many bruises, how much mental abuse has been put into us, we are the ones that fill our cups back up. We are the ones that will make that difference. We will be those change makers. And I truly believe that we will be the ones that change humanity. I'm huge on humanity. We treat our brothers and sisters the way that we want to be treated.
Right.
And we wanted to be treated right. So we come with voices of change. And that's what I do with my stories.
You are amazing. And you are being the voice for so many that aren't ready to use their own, and they feel voiceless. They feel like they're at the bottom. They can't. But you know what? That means you just take all those bricks that have been thrown at you and use it to make your foundation strong. That's what you do. And I want you to tell everybody how to find you, where your books are all on Amazon, your websites, everything. We're friends on, social media. We're going to stay in contact. You and I are going to do a lot of wonderful, great things together, but tell everybody where they can find you.
Well, before I tell everybody that, I want to put out a shout out for the next book that's coming out October 1st. It's called The Invisible Soul. And That is also another anthology that is coming out, that has been compiled by Constance Willard in the United States. And in that book, my chapter is called The Ugly Duckling Drinks Tea. So if anybody knows the story of the ugly duckling, how it was left out, you know where my story is going. And I turned into the beautiful swan who drank her tea. So that's all I'm going to say about that story. That does come out October 1st. If you'd like to make that a bestseller, go and grab your copies on October 1st in the afternoon, I believe. And all of that information is on my Facebook, on my websites, everything. So again, Victoria, I really want to thank you first off before I give my contact information. Because of women like you, we will make a difference. We're getting those voices out there, one voice at a time. We are no longer voiceless.
Thank you.
We are the voice, and we are coming strong. So I want to thank you, Victoria, for that.
Thank you.
For anybody who would like to reach out to me to have me speak on your platforms, your stages, I am an international speaker. I am an author. You can grab my books if you would like to have your books in your services or in your home or anything like that. The books are, my tea collection is for the ages of 15 to 99. Under 15, because of the heavy content, I don't recommend it. I don't like to put things in children's heads. I don't want them to have that heavy stuff before they're 15. 15, your mind is old enough to understand what's right and wrong. But you can reach me at my website at www.missliz's.teatime.com. You can check out my link tree, Miss Liz's Tea Time. My Facebook, Miss Liz's Tea Time. I kept it very simple, just Miss Liz's Tea Time. And if you put in my old website, the old domain, because I have changed my website, Miss Liz's Tea Parties, it will bring you to Miss Liz's Tea Time website. I've saved it that way. So because all of my old content, my old website was on. So if people are Googling and they find Miss Liz's Tea Party, it will bring you to Miss Liz's Tea Times. I've fixed it for that. Again, if you would like to have somebody that understands it, who has lived it, I'm here for you. You can reach out to me. If you would like to be a guest on my platform, you're more than welcome to reach out to me. And again, Victoria, thank you for what you're doing. And thank you to all the voices out there that are speaking up. I want to thank all of you women, men, whoever you are. Thank you for speaking up, and let's bring an end to domestic violence so we have no more survivors that have to speak up. Let's put the end to it today.
Thank you so much.